So, before we talk about strategic defensive initiative, we need to understand the Cold War and detente to understand how some of this happened. The Cold War was a geopolitical tension after World War II between powers in the Eastern Bloc and powers in the Western Bloc. Basically, what that means is there were some political disagreements between America and Soviet Russia, and America was constantly paranoid about getting bombed by the USSR. There wasn't any armed conflict between the two sides. Instead, they fought proxy wars, which essentially is when there's clearly conflict, but neither side really engages the other.
Detente was a period in the Cold War when it seemed like everything was starting to calm down and it looked like war was just about to be over. But America came around and ruined it with strategic defense inactive. By this time in the Cold War, Ronald Reagan was president of the United States and was paranoid of being bombed or invaded. Reagan wanted to make sure America would be safe in the event that they were bombed, so he put SDI into place. It was a program that would send satellite into orbit that would shoot down missiles flying from Soviet Russia into America. The idea that these would protect the Americans from nuclear missiles attacks, specifically from Soviet Russia.
SDI was given the nickname Star Wars because some of the ideas for weapons were interesting, to say the least. And with the recent release of the Star Wars films at the time, it was only fitting to call it that since a lot of the weapons seemed like something right out of the movie. Some of these weapons included nuclear X-ray lasers, subatomic particle beams, and computer-guided projectiles fly by electromagnetic relevance. Now you see why it's called Star Wars. As previously mentioned, SDI was supposed to save America from nuclear attacks, specifically from Soviet Russia. Well, Russia knew of this project, but it took it as an offensive plan instead of a defensive. Because of this misunderstanding, Russia thought America was trying to plan an attack of some sort. Remember what we said about detente and the world starting to simmer down? Well, this just rekindled the flame in the war, and it practically started it up again.
Although the ambitions for SDI were very high, the power requirement for such plans were very high and it already costed $30 billion to the US. This made people's motivation drop and crazy ideas for lasers and such started to fade away. In the end, the weapons design group for SDI was focused on land-based kinetic energy weapons. This part in the war is pretty significant in that it shows how trust that each country had for each other during World War II was lost during the Cold War.